Good morning. My name is Alexandria McKenzie, and I am a registered nurse. I currently work in nurse education and am working towards obtaining my bachelor's degree in nursing. For this presentation, I will be taking a deep dive into the book Good Kings, Bad Kings by Susan Nussbaum. Although this is a fictional novel, there are many themes and interactions that take place in this book that mirror the environment and situations that happen in healthcare facilities every single day. First, I want to talk about the vulnerable group associated with this book. This book follows a set of characters set in a long-term care facility for juveniles with disabilities such as physical or intellectual disabilities. Many of them come from complicated backgrounds. Many of them have different cultural backgrounds and beliefs, and some of them have differing sexual orientation. In regards to health disparities of this population, I think it's important that we break it down into two separate parts. The first being the disparities associated with them before they were admitted into this facility. The number one being self-care deficits related to their diagnosis. Again, most of these patients are paralyzed, possibly bedbound, or require a wheelchair to move around. Because of that, they are at increased risk for breakdown, skin breakdown, pressure sores, and things of that nature. Due to their background, they have an increased risk for drug and alcohol abuse, as well as mental illness or trauma related to their upbringing. Unfortunately, after they were admitted to the facility, many things continued to get worse for these characters. One instance of a character named Mia, who was sexually abused by a worker at this facility. We also see an instance of neglect in a patient named Teddy, who was left in a scalding hot shower. He was a paralyzed patient. Because of that, he was unable to call for help or remove himself from the shower. While he struggled, he ended up falling and subsequently died. There are also many instances of violence and exploitation against the patients from the staff members at this facility. The way I choose to apply this to my nursing practice is to continue to advocate for all patients, especially those who are unable to care for themselves in any capacity or who have cognitive deficits. I also think it's important that we report all negative interactions between staff members and patients. We should be compassionate to all patients, but especially those who are dealing with these types of struggles and have to live life differently than we do. I also think it's important to promote independence for this population. Although they cannot take care of themselves fully and require help, I think it's important that even if we give them just one little task that they can accomplish themselves, it'll build confidence in themselves and in the fact that you are there to take care of them. In regards to education, I think it's important that we take the time to educate our patients in a way that best fits them, especially for this population with cognitive deficits and physical incapabilities. We must change our education path geared towards that. Implications for new nurses. I think this book could be very eye-opening for those who are starting their career in nursing. I think it's a good point of reference for the importance of advocating for our patients, especially in vulnerable communities. I think it shows us how important therapeutic communication is. Also, again, shows them how we can promote independence. I think it could be a great eye-opener for the consequences of neglect. I think many new nurses don't fully understand what their decisions and choices, how that can negatively impact their patients. And I think it can help encourage them to provide compassionate care towards those who are different. For our veteran nurses, a lot of my implications are similar. I think it's also important that we remind them to be advocates for their patients. I think they get kind of in the swing of things and they forget how important it is that we speak up on their behalf. Also important for them to take time to listen to concerns or complaints. Again, they kind of know how everything works, and they know what to expect, and sometimes maybe they're lacking on listening in those aspects. I think it's also important that we can show them a population they may not have been exposed to. Again, I think it's important and can show them how important therapeutic communication is, and encourage them to be open-minded towards patients with different lifestyles. My questions and concerns in regard to this book is realizing how frequent the mistreatment of this population or similar populations truly are. I find it a little infuriating that there are healthcare workers who might disregard patients' complaints or concerns related to any form of abuse. One thing that I found interesting was one of the characters, Michelle. She seemed to be this personified version of corporate greed in healthcare. And it reminds me how often there are non-clinical people in those administrative positions. And I wish there was a way that we could put nurses who have, or doctors who have firsthand been with those patients in those types of positions. And then just brainstorming on how we can make a positive change for this population. My lingering thoughts in regards to this book is the mental health implications related to abuse and neglect, especially for these patients that already had, a difficult upbringing. They're already dealing with different disabilities, and then when they were placed in this facility where there were supposed to be people taking care of them, they instead abused them. I wonder how that affects their trust in the healthcare system, for the rest of their life, if they're going to feel untrusting. It also makes me wonder why we do not have better screening processes for workers in these types of facilities. I know the culture right now is everywhere short-staffed and they just want people in there, but I think it's important that we find people who truly want to take care of the patients they are there to take care of. It also made me wonder how many patients I have taken care of that have been through something like this. Did I make them feel better? Did they feel like they could trust me despite what they had been through? So that's just something that I thought was really interesting is we may have had patients many times who have been abused by healthcare workers under our care, and maybe we don't even know it. How does this book make me feel? It definitely made me infuriated, again, because I just don't understand how people could abuse people that they are there to take care of. It made me feel anxious and unsettled, especially with the sexual abuse part and just understanding how common that unfortunately is. It made me feel sad, and it made me question our culture because unfortunately, again, these are things that we hear about all the time on the news, and even though this is a fictional book, it really kind of mirrors what's happening in the world today. So here are my references. Overall, I thought this was a great book. I would definitely recommend it to others, especially anyone who's working in the healthcare system. I think it can be very eye-opening to that population and the different struggles that they face. Thank you.